Now I'm going to talk about Silicon Valley and the future of Hollywood. So as I told you, I spent a lot of time working at the intersection of entertainment and technology, and I find this a really exciting time. We are kind of at an inflection point where we are going to see how entertainment is produced and consumed change radically over the next 10 years. So we're already seeing this. And one of the driving factors is AI. So if you look at artificial intelligence, it exists in an ecosystem with all these other technologies, and all of them are going to impact entertainment. So we've already seen that the distribution of entertainment has changed from traditional broadcast networks over the air to online. And as it has transitioned, different companies are taking leadership roles. So Netflix, for example, they've risen, really, they were not one of the major broadcast networks anywhere in the world, but now they are one of the dominant broadcast networks. And the interesting thing about Netflix is how they use AI. So they use AI, of course, to make recommendations on what you should watch. But the really interesting thing is the power of Netflix is using the data from their millions and millions of viewers to determine what content to produce next. So when they produce a show on Netflix, that is done by using all this data, AI, analyzing it all, and saying, consumers, they want this in their show, and then they will go out to producers in Hollywood, and actually, instead of the producers coming to them with the ideas, Netflix will actually say, we want you to come up with a concept around this, because this is what a substantial number of our viewers want. The other thing is platforms. So we've seen the major platforms from Facebook, Google, Apple, Baidu, Netflix, Tencent, all these platforms, they will become increasingly more powerful. And they will become more powerful because they own the data. They own proprietary data. And the quality of the data that they have will determine the output, the quality of the entertainment that they can produce, the programming that they can produce. If you look, for example, at Facebook, when you go down your Facebook feed, that is not just what your friends are saying. That is an algorithm. So Facebook is an algorithm based on their data of what they think of all your friends, what posts and information they think you want to see. And then Facebook's advertising is also an algorithm based on everything you do on Facebook and all their data, what ads they're showing you. So Facebook is not just a social network, it's a highly scripted entertainment experience. So we don't think of social networks as entertainment, but that's what they are. And if you look at the primary metric that Mark Zuckerberg uses when he analyzes Facebook, it's engagement. They want you tuned into Facebook as many hours of the day as possible, because those hours translate into revenue. And they want you contributing, because the more you contribute, the more you consume. So everything around Facebook is orchestrated to get you involved, to suck you in and keep you coming back, much like a traditional broadcast network. At Facebook, they have done an interesting study, and this fascinated me. They went to their users, and they asked all of their users, they say, what would you like? If we showed you a video, which videos would you watch? If we show you an article appears in your Facebook feed, which articles would you read? And the people, they would answer, oh, I would watch these videos. I would read those articles. Then they went to their AI. And then their AI analyzed the user's data. And they asked the AI, what will this user do? And the AI came up with a prediction that was different from the users themselves. Different. Who do you think was more accurate? The AI or the user themselves? Well, I'll tell you, the AI. The AI can predict what you will do on Facebook better than you can predict yourself. Does that sound strange? Kind of freaky? It freaked me out a little because, I think I know myself. I think if I say I'm going to watch these videos or read these articles, I would know better than some AI. But I will tell you, the AI always knows us better than we know ourselves. And here's the reason why. Because we think Oh, if that video, that interesting documentary came up, I would watch that. Or that news article on climate change, I would read that article. But in reality, when that cute cat video comes up, we're watching the cat video. So we tend to do different things than we think we would do. Because our image, our understanding of ourselves is who we want to be, not who we actually are. So when we describe what we'll do, we are saying, oh, I want to be this type of person, I will consume this type of content. But in actuality, most of us are very different than what we want to be. AI looks at what you actually do, and it extrapolates from that on your future behavior. So if you think about this power, and this is today, they run this experiment today. AI is only getting more powerful, they're only getting more data. They will be able to predict very accurately the types of content you want to consume in the future. And as Netflix is doing, they will produce that content for you. Another power of AI that's really interesting is they now have AI that can look at just how you move your eyes, whether you blink a lot, whether you look back and forth, how you move your eyes, and they can analyze your personality. That's weird, right? So AI can look at you and basically start to determine not just what you will do, but who you are and what you like. They have a company called Red Meat Games, and they are kind of innovating on how to personalize content. And what they do is they make really scary zombie games. But they found out, I'm the type of person where I don't like things too bloody. If things are too bloody, then I will just stop either playing the game or watching the movie. Some people, buckets of blood are not enough. They want more and more and more. So what they do is they actually get biofeedback. They did a very simple mechanism where through a wearable they could get your heart rate and actually measure your heart rate. So if your heart rate gets too high during the game, it means you're freaking out, you're getting too scared. They will actually programmatically, in real time, change the game so it's less scary. But if your heart rate is too low and you're really not engaged, then they will amp it up with more blood and more, horror to make the game scarier. This is for a game. This is happening today. Could you apply this concept to movies or other things in the future? The answer is yes, and we will. So a lot of people ask me, they come up, they say, Steve, can AI create art? Only humans can create art because only humans understand the human condition. Do you believe that? So who thinks only humans can create art? When I go around, most people I talk to believe that. But I will tell you, AI can create art. AI will create art, and AI will create amazingly beautiful art that will move us in ways we never anticipated. Now, why do I say this? I say it because I have studied the process of creating art. My mom's an artist. I wanted to be an artist when I was younger. And art itself is created much like AI creates, deep learning happens. So let me explain that. We all know Picasso. We think Picasso, he broke through with Cubism. He created a whole new genre of art. He redefined modern art. But where did those ideas come from? If you actually study Picasso's history, he borrowed those ideas. Those ideas came when he went to the Louvre. And he looked at at the Louvre, he saw a lot of African art. And if you look at Cubism and African art, there's a lot of similarities. He also came from Spain, and he really understood primitive Iberian art. He pulled in those ideas. And then, of course, all around him were the Impressionists and Matisse and all these great artists experimenting. Well, what Picasso did was what AI does. It pulls lots of samples, and it starts to put them together and blend them, which AI can do right now. There are AI art algorithms that do this, blend them in new ways to create new art. That's what he did with his personal vision. When he first put this art out there, Picasso, everybody told him, this isn't art. This is an abomination. It's ugly. Picasso was very strong-willed, luckily, because if he wasn't so strong-willed, he would have given up and nobody would know Picasso. But he decided to stick with this despite all the critics saying it wasn't art, and even his fellow artists looking at his art and saying, that's you're just it's really ugly. But because he stuck with it, art is what art is when society recognizes it as art. And at a certain point, Picasso was moving in the right circles. If somebody off in some small town had created this art, we may have never heard of it. But Picasso was at the center of the art scene, and then it came around and it was his time, and they recognized it as art. So what AI will do when it creates art is AI will start to pull all these elements from society. And where can it get them? All this art is online, right? It's all out there. All AI has to do is go and sample it, right? Everything is on the web. All the great artists, all the new artists are posting their work all the time, and combine it in new ways with algorithms, and then put it out there, and we will judge whether it's art or not. Now, if you don't think this will really happen, I want to give you an example. So Taryn Southern is a musician, and she created her first AI album. So it was her as a singer, but all the instrumentals, all the music was composed by AI. She just did the singing and interacted with it. She's putting this music out there. We'll see if it's successful. There are many other musicians now working with AI instead of live musicians. And I have gone out there and sampled these algorithms. It is pretty amazing what they can do. I will tell you, I mentioned TikTok earlier. You all know TikTok, the video app, and Instagram and other companies, and Spotify. Well, recently, TikTok and Spotify just bought AI music companies. So they could generate music just by AI. Why would they do this? Well, they did that because these AI algorithms, they don't have to pay them royalties. They can just generate endless amounts of music without paying a penny in royalties. So if you use TikTok today, if you use Spotify, some of the music you are going to be listening to in the coming years is going to be completely generated by AI. Now, will that song that's generated by AI become a hit? You will decide. All of us will decide. We won't even know it's created by AI. We'll listen to it and go, that's amazing, and we'll share it with our friends and blah, 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 blah. And those songs, if their algorithms pick them up as popular, then they will distribute them further and further. So AI in the background is going to be creating really a limitless number of versions of different music, putting them into the stream, and then their AI algorithms are going to be analyzing how this is listened to, and if it gets a high engagement rate, it's going to be promoted within the network. So, my big point is, in the content we see out there, a lot of it's going to be generated by AI. We won't know about it, but if it moves us emotionally, if it speaks to us, then that content will be propagated through the system. So AI will be creating entertainment of the future. An interesting thing is, we know now that AI can create music that you cannot distinguish from a real band. It can do that. But what about singing? What about the vocals? Well, they're working on technology right now, where they're getting close to the point where AI will be able to sing and actually emote, just like real singers. And how will it do this? It's all sampling. So if you study AI and you understand deep learning, what AI does is it pulls these samples and it just replicates them. And it looks for the patterns. That's why they have AI algorithms that can create classical music like Bach, hip-hop music, all these different genres. Nothing is really out of reach. So we're entering a world now where all of you have heard of deep fakes, where they can create an image of somebody. They could be a movie star, put it on another body, have them say or do anything. And this is a bit scary because deep fakes are being used politically. They're coming out there with politicians saying things that they wouldn't have said. They're being used with stars, having them do things they would normally not do. But the power of deep fakes is what we're seeing, what I'm talking about in music is going to be happening in video. AI is powerful enough, we're getting just to the point where AI is powerful enough to create versions of us or even fictitious people and actually put them out there as entertainers. So right now, Do all of you know who James Dean is? He's been dead 65 years, but he was a teen idol. He acted in East of Eden and Giants and many other great films throughout history, but his career was very short. I think he only did 4 movies, but he became a superstar with 4 movies, and then he died in an auto accident. Well, 65 years later, they are about to release now a new James Dean movie. So that James Dean movie is created entirely, James Dean himself is entirely created by AI. We've seen some of this in Star Wars, where they used AI characters. But what we're seeing is that we can resurrect actors from the dead, sample their voice, sample their image, and actually bring them back into a movie. What does this mean for the future? With the future, it's very clear. We could have Elvis Presley in our future movies. We could, you name it, we can bring people back from history if we can sample them and actually recreate them in the movies of tomorrow. We can have entirely AI-created movies. I was actually speaking to the head of the London Sci-Fi Film Festival, and he's always looking for experimental films around science fiction. And one of his projects that he developed, he helped produce, was a movie where the script, the actual story, was entirely written by AI. Now, this was an experimental short film. They did a series of 3 of them, but when they showed them to people, people didn't realize that the script was written by AI. They just thought, wow, this is a really freaky film created by very creative people. And what the AI did was literally it sampled lots of other movies and scripts and then came up with its own story. Now, theirs was a short film, kind of primitive, but what we're going to see in the future is AI actually, we're not only AI actors and AI voices, but we're going to see actual stories created by AI. Now, if you think that probably won't happen, look at most Hollywood films. They are very formulaic. I mean, there are experimental films out there, but AI, I'll tell you, could be more experimental than a lot of the Hollywood films I see today. The romantic comedies, the action films, they kind of follow a very similar path. It doesn't take a super genius AI to figure this out. So we are going to see the actual script writing, the content, the production, all of this being developed in the future by AI. And what do I mean by that? Well, what it comes down to was the question we had earlier about personalization. So where is entertainment headed in the future? Well, my prediction is that entertainment will become more and more and more personalized to what you want. So when you tune in, whether you're on an airplane, like I travel a lot, whether you're at home, whether you're on your phone, that entertainment will know you very well, it will know what you like, and it will actually be generating entertainment just for you. What do I mean by entertainment just for you? I mean, if you like, a lot of people will see films just because of the actor, and they won't watch other films because they don't like that actor or actress. Well, the AI, we may watch the same movie in the future, but the difference will be, in that movie, you will see your 2 favorite actors, and in the movie version I watch, I will see mine. Because the AI, in the future, especially with 5G, will actually be able to just slightly tweak the film and put it on a different face, maybe the same dialogue and everything, in the story, one for you and one for me. Now, if in your story, maybe you like it more romantic. Maybe I want more action, right? So in your version of the story, they will have longer romantic scenes and more romance. In my version of the same movie, the action scenes will be extended and the romance will be reduced. What I'm saying is that this sounds really strange now, but if you go out 10 years in the future, definitely 20 years in the future, we will come to expect this. And all the things that I'm talking about may seem freaky, like people won't do that. But remember, if you go back 10 years ago, you weren't walking around everybody glued to their phone, right? Everywhere you go, you're glued. If people talked about that, we'd say, that's really strange. We won't go into a room at a party where everybody's looking at their phone. But we do that now. So what I see in the future is that entertainment is actually undergoing a big trend. The distribution is changing. It has already changed how we distribute and consume. The production is changing. And the entertainment itself will actually dynamically change in real time to suit what we want. Now, there are dangers in this, so don't think I'm not all positive about this, but why I like to talk about it is because I think we need to be aware that this is happening. So if we don't like this, and some of you will say, I don't want a world where AI is monitoring everything I do, where my data is being gathered, where all my news and information is being customized just for me. If you don't want that type of world, well, now is the time to speak up, because these forces are already in play. As I told you with Facebook and all the big social networks and Netflix, it's already happening. All I'm doing is taking what's happening now and looking into the future and seeing where it will go. So I hope you enjoyed this, and it will get you thinking about what's coming next. For me, I find it fascinating.